Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Some breaking news, which is not news that we want to be discussing on a football channel, but obviously it is related to Manchester United. It is related to Manchester United footballer. For how long, we'll have to wait and see. Mason Greenwood. There was a lot of things going on yesterday that we said on the evening show should not have been discussed. And that really comes home now when you get the breaking news coming through on the screen, which you can see that Mason Greenwood has been charged with attempted rape, engaging in controlling and coercive behaviour, and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. This is from the Crown Prosecution Service, and it's being reported widely across the UK media now. That's the Press Association, one of the most established associations in the press in the UK. It's on the BBC, it's everywhere. This is news that we don't want to discuss, but it's not speculative news. There's also a statement that's come out, which I will read to you. I'm sure there'll be one from Manchester United shortly. I would imagine Manchester United will come out with something along the lines of, I don't know what Man United will do, but ultimately he's a Manchester United player, so that they'll take legal advice, but they will make a statement. Obviously. This is the statement that's coming out from the Deputy Chief Crown Prosecutor for CPS in the North West. The Crown Prosecution has today authorised Greater Manchester Police to charge Mason Greenwood with attempted rape, engaging in controlling and coercive behaviour, and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. All three counts relate to the same complainant. Specialist rape prosecutors from the CPS Complex Work Unit authorised the charges following a review of a file of evidence received from Greater Manchester Police. The defendant's first court appearance will take place on Monday, the 17th of October at Greater Manchester Magistrates Court. The Crown Prosecution Service reminds all concerned that criminal proceedings against the defendant are active and that he has a right to a fair trial. It is extremely important that there should not be any reporting, commentary or sharing of information online which could in any way prejudice those proceedings. And this is something we've said on this community, online. The amount of people that comment on these cases is bloody ridiculous. And as we know, yesterday, we had to talk about it on the show last night in a very general way to try and advise people to stop talking or predicting what is going to happen with something, because some of the stuff that was coming out yesterday about cases being dropped, etc., trust me, having worked in that industry, there is absolutely no way a case is being dropped on Friday and then charged on Saturday. So whoever was putting that information out yesterday was being trolled or worse, because that was clearly not the case. This is a case that's been on bail since January. It takes months and months to gather evidence, whether it's electronic evidence, statements, whatever. And to be in a position today to charge him, that's not something that's changed overnight. So whoever was putting that stuff out and then people were commenting about, oh, where can he play in the team? I just think it's ridiculously unfair on everybody, on absolutely everybody, the victim, the prosecution services, the defendant themselves, because that's trial by media and that can't happen. That cannot happen. So look, people are just going to have to let this run the course. This is a big development. In any case where somebody's on bail, there's numerous things that can happen. You can be charged, which means the prosecution feel that there's enough evidence to go to court and get a conviction. So they feel that the evidence is there and he has been charged. The case can be dropped and they don't feel that the evidence is there. Or bail can be continued while evidence is gathered. So this case is now going to go to court. And for me, as a Manchester United fan, and I'm sure for anybody else, football fans or whatever, you just can't comment on it. You can't. This is a judicial decision based on those people who've seen the evidence and they believe there is enough evidence to charge and go to court and push for a guilty charge. That's the prosecution. The defence will fight against that, and some of you may understand the law, some of you may just see it on the TV and stuff, but ultimately that's going to court. So that's going to be in front of a jury. Evidence is going to be read out. I'm sure a lot of people are going to take a lot of interest in that, and obviously there's the outcomes are still the same, innocent until proven guilty. And now it's on the prosecution to try and prove that the defendant in this case, which is Mason Greenwood, the evidence is there to do that. But that's not for us to comment on. The reality is that, and I've seen people saying online, well, the decision is there now, and people can adapt to that decision how they want to adapt it. But I would hope that we stop seeing the nonsense that we've been seeing online for the last months, where every couple of weeks it's trending with this is going to happen, that's going to happen, this is going to happen. And clearly what people thought was going to happen yesterday was completely wrong. So I suppose it's a lesson when it comes to serious matters not to believe social media. I mean, I remember 4 years ago, or however many years ago, the last time we had a general election, if you listen to social media, Labour were going to win the general election, and they didn't. So it's just an example of social media can just be fed by complete and utter bollocks. And it's very, very sad that things like that happen in relation to very serious matters. What does it mean to Manchester United? I'm aware that many of you won't be aware of the judicial system in the UK. Some people dangerously will start thinking that means Mason Greenwood's guilty. It doesn't mean he's guilty. It means he's been charged, and it means he's going to court. Effectively, what's happened in this case is that an accusation has been made. It's been investigated by the police, who passed the information to the Crown Prosecution Service, who are basically the lawyers for the police in the UK. They look at the case and they go, there's not enough there, release him, or there is enough there, we want to go to court. And that's what they've done. They've said there's enough evidence there to take this to court, put it in front of a jury, and try and get a guilty conviction. So that is where we're at. Charged, it's really important here, charged does not mean guilty. Charged means it's going to court. It means the evidence is there for them to go to court and have a trial, which is not our area as football fans. That's not, we shouldn't be getting involved in that at all. What it does mean is that I think that there will be some ramifications from this in relation to those people who were thinking about whether this player could play for Manchester United again. That's not a conversation to be having now, and it's not a conversation people should be having. Actually, let's call it what it is here. There is a very, very serious allegation, and it involves a person. It involves two people. It involves the victim and it involves the alleged defendant. That's the most important thing here. The football thing doesn't matter, and what happens after here, we will have to wait and see. But in relation to Manchester United and a player that's plays for Manchester United, I hope people actually start to feel what should have been felt for the last few months, and what I felt and what many people have felt. It's completely irrelevant how good the footballer is or whether we need a forward or anything like that. It's so insensitive and it's so irrelevant. And hopefully people grasp that now. It is irrelevant. Stop thinking about who's going to play up front for Manchester United or whether they're going to come back or anything like that. You shouldn't be thinking about it anyway, because ultimately you never had any prior knowledge of this case or what was going to happen anyway. The reality is it's going to go to trial. It might not go to trial for a year, and I just forget about all that. The focus should be on the fact that this is a very serious allegation that impacts all parties involved, and you've just got to let it go into that situation now. And I'm sure there will be some reaction from Manchester United, but I don't know what they can do. I mean, ultimately, I'd be speculating to say what they can do. They'll take legal advice. I'm sure that they will. Of course, you've got to comment. It's an employee of your organisation that's now been charged with a very serious offence and is going to go to court. There may be suspensions. There may be, I don't know. It's completely speculation to start talking about that. But yeah, I mean, it's not the sort of video you want to respond. I remember responding to it back in January when it came out, and it was a difficult video to do because obviously you've got prior knowledge of how investigation process works, but you are talking about something that is somebody's been arrested on suspicion. In some ways, it's easy is not the word. It's more. You can talk about it more now because it's on the Press Association, it's on the BBC. This is going to be, it's registered as a public record of this is going to go to court. He's going to be in court on Monday to answer the charges, and they'll start discussing when the court dates are going to be. It's not what you want to be talking about. And as a Manchester United fan, obviously you're going to feel not great about it because it's our club. It's a family, isn't it? We fall out about football opinions and stuff, but Manchester United it's our football club, and when something goes wrong in that football club, you feel bad about it, and Manchester United will be feeling bad about it. But ultimately, you've got to act mature about it. You've got to act morally about it, and these are very serious allegations, and you've got to put faith in the judicial system that the right outcome will come through based on the evidence that's there. But it's very, very serious, and football doesn't matter. Personally, I was never thinking about whether this particular player would play for the club again, because the serious nature of the allegations was always the truth has to, as long as we get to the truth, then you make a decision. And this is going to go to court, as we now know, charged. And I mean, as we said back at the time, the you cannot understate the severity of what these charges are, and you have to think in these cases of the victim and the people affected by it, because we just don't know the story of what's going on. And you hear all this stuff on social media, and it's been completely blown out of the water over the last 24 hours. So my thing is, with anything like this, not just this case, but any case you hear about, maybe it's sports related, maybe it's not, don't start being the judge and the jury on social media. It's a very dangerous thing. And what I would implore people to do now is don't start commenting on the case. The comments are not on this video. This is an update on what's going on with a Manchester United player. This is not an open forum to start commenting on a case that's now going to go to court and can get you in trouble. There'll be people yesterday who put stuff out there on social media about this case who will be twitching this morning and this afternoon thinking, you know what, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have took that and put it out on a public forum. So, learn from that. When you're dealing with serious matters like this, you can talk about whether a footballer is good enough to play for Man United and what their passing success rate is like, but you cannot start talking about serious matters like this and giving your opinion on it, because it's very dangerous and it will come and backbite you when it doesn't happen. So, look, it's all round. It's a really, really sad situation, and it's unfortunately it's the bad side of life, isn't it? We know these things go on, and the thoughts go out to those people involved in this, because it's going to be a very traumatic time. And let's put our faith in the in the process and the justice system of the UK. I know some people say, well, I don't, but ultimately it's there to do what it does, and they've gathered the evidence, and this is the decision. It's going to go to court. So and it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time. So it's just, you just got to carry on with what's going on. On a footballing level, Manchester United carries on. It's carried on for the last 9 months. We carry on with what we've got. But yeah, it's not the sort of thing you want to be talking about on a Saturday evening. So I hope that gives a bit of clarity to people. In a summary, Mason Greenwood has been charged with these offences. He will be going to court at some point. There will be a trial. He will not be playing for Manchester United, like he's not been playing for the last 9 months. There may well be an announcement from Manchester United about, what that means for Mason Greenwood's contract, etc. I wouldn't want to speculate on that. Charged doesn't mean guilty. It means he's going to court. It means that the Crown Prosecution Service, who are like the lawyers for the police, they feel there's evidence there to get a guilty verdict. That will be their case. There'll be a defence set of lawyers for Mason Greenwood who will, present their case that shouldn't be the case, and the judge and the jury will run it like any courtroom. I nearly said debate, but that's not the word, but you know what I mean. So yeah, and I would say as well, this is not a show about the justice system in the UK, but there will be people out there who are probably not from the UK who think because he's been charged that means he's done it. That doesn't mean that. It just means it's going to go to court. It means the case isn't being dropped. It means it's going to court. It means there's evidence there that the prosecution feel is enough to take it to court and ask for a guilty. But they've got to present that evidence. And not every case that goes to court ends up with somebody being found guilty. So there we go. But yeah, I think the most important thing here is that this is very serious offences. And, with these sort of offences, there is a victim. And that is where everybody's focus should be. And out of respect and consideration for the severity of these offences, we and I mean the collective we, not just Manchester United fans, should be not discussing the case and should let the process go the way it is. I hope that it's not a very nice update, but I hope that gives you an update on what the situation is. And yeah, we don't want to be having to talk about it, but the reality is we reacted to it 9 months ago, and now we have a development with it. And obviously it's all over the news and everything, and I think responsible reporting is to try and give a clarity on what will happen, what is happening, and what will happen next. And I suppose we'll have to wait and see from here. But please do not start speculating and commenting on social media about this case, because that helps nobody. It helps absolutely nobody. And I said that last night. If people are saying that such and such is doing this and such is doing this, in many ways you may be doing, you may be actually adding to the workload of the police investigating it, who has to investigate these things that are being put out on social media. Just don't get involved. Don't start putting it out there. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you soon.